Hi there, welcome to another episode of Talk with Antonio. I am your host, Antonio. And for this week's episode, I will be talking about the aftermath of Hurricane Milton and also the other allegations and stories that have come out more in regards to Puff Daddy. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you know? In regards to the hurricane, I've been reading here a lot of articles here. It says here that Hurricane Milton aftermath, death toll climbs with hundreds of thousands still without any power. It says here that after nearly 2 weeks after Hurricane Helene made landfall in the northwestern portion of Florida, people across the state are once again picking up the pieces after major Hurricane Milton. And you know how major that was? I saw the Tropicana Field, the baseball stadium of the Tampa Bay Rays. The roof is just completely torn apart. I was like, when I saw the pictures of it, I was totally flabbergasted. And you know, it's funny how when Hurricane Milton hit Central Florida, all like this major theme parks like Walt Disney World, they shut down. Halloween Horror shut down because right now Halloween Horror is going on right now, so they had to shut down. And I bet dollars to donuts, the people who bought tickets for that week and Hurricane Milton hit, I know Universal Studios had to give them some type of a refund or a voucher, because you know, this is the one thing I've always had like an issue with Universal Studios. They are very, very staunch on not giving any type of refunds. If you're late, they won't let you in. You will lose X amount of money for your tickets, and they won't refund you. That's how much of Universal Studios, how much they are dicks in that aspect. I'll give you an example. I think it was but they have made exceptions. Obviously, this one with Hurricane Milton. It was like years ago when me and my nephew, I think it was 2015 if I remember correctly. I remember when me and my nephew bought tickets to go to Halloween Horror Nights. However, something came up or something happened. I believe it was the 101 freeway. Some guy tried to commit suicide. I think he wanted to jump off, but that was like in the middle of the day. But the middle of the day extended all the way up till the fucking late evening. And I remember me and my nephew, we always went early because of the lines and getting the parking and all that stuff. And the traffic jam was backed up all the way. Like, we were stuck on Lancashire Boulevard. And me and my nephew, we were like so angry. Like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So... and like, I'm gonna lose X amount of money. So me and my nephew, so I called. I think it was like one of my loved ones, and I explained to, what do we do? They're not gonna give us money. So what happened was, I think it was my mom who said, call Universal Studios and explain your situation. So me and my nephew were like, alrighty, here goes nothing. So me and my nephew were like, we got our phone, well, my phone actually. So we dialed Universal Studios and explained the situation of what's going on, of the freeways backed up. We can't get to the park because there's this traffic jam. So that day, I think it was Human Resources of Universal Studios explained to us that they understand the situation, that we can't go to the park. So they gave us, I think it was a rain check, so we could go the following day, because we went. It was a Friday we were supposed to go, but they gave us a waiver, so we went on the following day, which was a Saturday, to make it up. So we had to go home that day. So in that aspect, in terms of what happened with Hurricane Milton, I guess they had to give the refund or some type of a voucher or something like that. But anyhow, it says here that Weeks after Helene made landfall in the northwestern portion of Florida, people across the state are once again picking up the pieces after a major hurricane. This time, Hurricane Milton put a bullseye in the central portion of Florida, making landfall near Tampa and then heading past Orlando and the state's east coast before finally moving out over the Atlantic. The storm retained hurricane strength through the entire crossing of the entire state of Florida. I said, it's funny how once it passes a certain part of the state, wherever that natural disaster is going, it just becomes a tropical depression. But I don't know how hurricanes, I know they always form somewhere in the west coast of Africa. And then they travel all the way to the Atlantic Ocean until reaching the East Coast or the southern part of the United States of America, which, that's in a way, even though it's a natural disaster, but how Mother Nature works, it's mind-blowing. And it says that early in the week, the storm intensified from a tropical storm to a major Category 5 hurricane over the ultra-warm Gulf of Mexico waters in 24 hours, taking an unusual track east and then east-northeast towards Florida. Milton officially made landfall near Siesta Key around 8:30 p.m. as a Category 3 hurricane. Meteorologists emphasized the danger of a somewhat weakened storm, which still packed 120 miles per hour winds upon landfall, along with a devastating storm surge. I've been watching videos of how that fucking hurricane hit. Man, it was fucking brutal. And I saw a lot of people staying in their homes. I guess there was a lot of flooding, and the house filled up with water. Somewhere inside, I saw a video. I think it was on TikTok, mind you. It was like he was inside of a kayak, and he said, "Look at the water that went inside my house," and then you can see it was bubbling up. Obviously, the water was already damaging the foundation of the house. And I was having a discussion with I think it was my mother in regards to a lot of people staying behind because there were orders of evacuation, and I was looking at some videos of how people were just staying behind because they wanted to protect their house or just give me 1 second. And I'm sorry about that. And I was watching how a lot of people were staying behind and they did not want to evacuate. And it's funny. I was having a discussion with my mother about that, and she said it's material. It doesn't matter. You can go back and rebuild. Okay, I do understand that point and that point of view. To me, it's a 50-50 thing. I take it back. It's actually a double-edged sword because, say for example, I saw a video of this young lady who I will not mention her name. She lives in Florida, and I think it was before Milton hit. She came out on the live part of Twitter, and she was explaining. She was crying her ass off. She's saying that I worked very hard to build my house here in Central Florida, and Hurricane Milton is a douche. When she said that, I was laughing my ass off. But in reality, I don't blame her for staying behind. I'm sorry, she didn't stay behind. She had to evacuate for safer grounds, and she had to leave her house behind. And she was crying her ass off because she said, "I worked very hard to build my home here in Central Florida, and all because of Hurricane Milton." And in that aspect, I don't blame her because it sucks. Some people work their asses off to build their own homes, in some states that a lot of hurricanes or tornadoes occur. And then I've seen videos of people who live in the central part of the United States, and it was like, wow, tornadoes. It's like It's fucking brutal. You know, some people got their some lost their homes, some didn't. They just damaged, but in terms of damage, they could just rebuild. They could just fix it. Sometimes it's all cosmetic, and they could just fix it up. But some people who just lose their home, like the entire thing gone, it sucks for them, and I feel for that, and I feel extremely sad about that. I'll give you an example. When the 1994 earthquake hit here in Southern California, in January 17th, 1994, I saw videos. I've actually seen lots of videos on YouTube. I think it was here in Sylmar, I believe. All the houses were just like destroyed, like nothing. Nothing was still standing. And it's sad. Some people were just crying because they were saying, I lost my house. Where am I going to live now? And it sucks. Because some people spend X amount of money to buy a house, and all of a sudden, because of a natural disaster, it's gone. And for people right now in Florida, all I can say is be strong. Everything will be okay. I don't know, there's more hurricanes coming up. But to the people that lost their houses over there, all I can say is I'm sorry. And to them, and to those who did not lose their houses, they just got damaged. Y'all, like I said, y'all are lucky, you know. And you know, speaking of Hurricane Milton in Tampa, Florida, in my last episode of my podcast, I mentioned a dude that went by the name of Lieutenant Dan, and this is the same. This fellow right here was who was living in a boat, and he was the one who refused to leave his boat during Hurricane Milton. Something came up right now, and now is facing a lot of backlash right now because over a racial slur during live stream. It doesn't fucking surprise me. And I'll say this. It says that viral hurricane sensation Lieutenant Dan is facing backlash for allegedly spewing a racial slur during a live stream. Fucking idiot. It says Joseph Malinowski, a one-legged sailor who rocketed to social media stardom for refusing to leave his boat in Tampa ahead of Hurricane Milton, fired off the racial epithet of the livestream platform Kick after claiming he may have been swindled by a TikTok user for social media clout and cash. It says, this is what he said. If you want to get back into my good graces, you have to take time, Malinowski must on Friday, adding, because I'll cut you off, you're done, the racial slur. I'm sorry. Because he knew he fucked up there. And it says that Malinowski, whose nickname stands from the resemblance to the one-legged Forrest Gump character, fell into the limelight after millions follow his saga via TikTok user Terrence Concan's videos, along with features in the Weather Channel and CNN, shortly before Hurricane Milton made its destructive landfall Wednesday with 120-mile-per-hour winds. It says that this dude, Concan, set up a GoFundMe to raise money for a new boat for Malinowski. Although during the live stream, he said that he has yet to receive any of the $46,000 donated, sparking the race's rant. That's still no excuse for this fucker to say that shit, you know? And it says that Lieutenant Dan went live on Kick and ripping the N-word, one user wrote, using a crying emoji. Bro did not last one day. Doesn't fucking surprise me. It says that the live stream bomb isn't the first controversy Malinowski has faced in recent days. He came in for criticism after voluptuous rap sheets surfaced, which included arrests for allegedly decking a cop and trying to set up a woman on fire last year after covering her in gasoline. He's a fucking piece of shit, you know. It says that he also has a criminal case in Florida, in Tampa, and he even owns a 22-foot Catalina he hung down during the storm, which killed at least 17 and has left 1.5 million without power as of Saturday afternoon. And there's actually showing a pictures here of over the years that he had the mugshots he had been collecting. I think this one, it says Man, I think it's like in the first row, the fourth picture. Fuck, he looks terrible. But you can tell he's like one of those typical junkies. I don't mean to sound cruel or anything like that, but he's just a fucking junkie, you know. And speaking of the damage that Hurricane Milton caused, it says here, let me see. Oh, here it is. You know how I was mentioning earlier about the Tropicana field, how the roof was completely destroyed? It says here, this is what I'm reading right now in the New York Post, unfortunately. It says that Rays 2025 question looms after her. Let me say this. I'm sorry. It says Rays 2025 question looms after Hurricane Milton's destruction to Tropicana Field. It says that the fallout of Hurricane Milton's destruction to the Tampa community continues for the Rays. Given the extensive damage to the home team's Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida, which saw its roof get shredded by the monster Category 3 storm, the Tampa Bay Times reported Tuesday the venue will unlikely be ready for the start of the 2025 season on March 27th and outlined potential options for the AL East club to explore. It says, and I quote, "Over the coming days and weeks, we expect to be able to assess the true condition of Tropicana Field," the organization said in a statement on October 10th. "In the meantime, we are working with law enforcement to secure the building. We ask for your patience at this time, and we encourage those who can to donate to organizations in our community that are assisting those directly impacted by these storms." And looking at the picture, fuck me, man. It's the roof is completely gone. Nothing is left. And I'm looking at the pictures right now, ladies and gentlemen. It's mind-blowing how powerful a fucking hurricane can be. And I'm looking, there's other pictures. Man, that stadium is not going to be ready at all for 2025. It also says here that in addition to the roof, which was installed in 1990, the Tampa Bay reported that there are indications of extensive damage elsewhere. Specifically, some team offices on the fourth floor, which had drop ceilings on an overall roof, are now open to the elements. Building access has been narrowed due to safety concerns. Among the most pressing matters the Rays have to address is whether the team is looking at a short-term or long-term alternative. And looking by the damage that the hurricane did to Tropicana Field, ooh. I'd say that they're not going to play at all this upcoming season in Tropicana Field. Just looking at the damage of the roof, there's nothing. It's just, I don't know. I'm sorry if I keep repeating myself. It just looks terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. So I would say, given the circumstances, I would say if, that's the word, people, if Tropicana Field's ready by 2026, it's most likely. But there have been like many rumors or stories that the Tampa Rays have always been looking for other options to another stadium, because Tropicana Field, to me, I don't know, it's not really a baseball stadium. I mean, obviously, obviously, yes, it is a baseball field, but it's not really like an actual baseball field, because, correct me if I'm wrong, are the Rays the only like baseball team that still uses like a dome? Because all the baseball teams now have like their own like open stadium, like a normal baseball stadium. Like some have retractable roofs, some don't. But I would say like Tropicana Field, it's not up to baseball's like this day and age baseball standards, you know. So I would say if the owner or whoever is in charge of the Tampa Bay Rays, if they build a new stadium, I mean that would be a good choice, because I know it will take time, but at least they will have to explore. Say for example, what happened right now with Tropicana Field, ladies and gentlemen. It's fucked up. It's destroyed. The roof is nothing. It's just looking at the pictures all over again. I see him over and over and over. It's just, it's mind blowing. It says that weather, location, and scheduling conflicts would be the among variables to be weighed. While spring training facilities such as Tampa, Steinbrenner Field, and Baycare Ballpark and Clearwater have local appeal, they are without roofs, which opens the door to possible weather delays. Upgrades will be needed to host regular season games, per the report. Charlotte Sports Park, the Rays Spring Facility in Port Charlotte, Florida, and Disney's Wide World of Sports Complex in Lake Buena Vista were also highlighted as possibilities, but pose similar drawbacks. And it's looking, they're showing the interior of Tropicana Field in 2020. It's just, it looks pretty cool, actually. I'm not going to lie to you. It says here that the report also illustrated the possibility of the Rays completing outside of the Sunshine State in North Carolina, where their AAA team is based, as there are scheduling conflicts aplenty with nearby option Lone Depot Park, home of the Miami Marlins. The Rays have called Tropicana Field home since 1998. And I don't think, okay, I don't think would the Marlins borrow the stadium to the Rays? I mean, I think it's possible. I mean, let's go back in the past. When the Yankees played at, what is it? What was back then known as Shea Stadium, while the Yankee Stadium was being renovated. I mean, some baseball teams have shared stadiums. It's been well known. It's been well known, documented, that certain baseball teams share stadiums, just not all of them. And but all I can say is I don't think the Rays aren't going to play at Tropicana Field this upcoming season. I think if they work fast enough, I would say that Tropicana Field, or whatever happens, will be ready in 2026 MLB season start. So, in regards to fucking that guy, Lieutenant Dan, all I can say is fuck that piece of shit. Fucking racist piece of shit. He can go fuck himself. So, and now on to like right now, there are more allegations coming up with fucking Puff Daddy right now. And I'm not going to read all of them because there's just like a shitload of them, I swear to you. But there was one that really like blew my mind. And it's this one right here. This is from People Magazine. It says, Sean Diddy Combs accused of sexually abusing a 9-year-old. Give me 1 second. Says that he is sexually accused of sexually abusing a 9-year-old boy, as 120 people alleged abuse. Sean Diddy Combs was separately charged in September with racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. It says that a 9-year-old boy is among the 120 people who are accusing Sean Diddy Combs of sexual assault and abuse in impending lawsuits, a lawyer in the accuser says. Houston-based attorney Tony Busby held a press conference on Tuesday, October 1st, alleging that Combs sexually abused multiple minors. Busby alleged that one 9-year-old boy was sexually abused after he auditioned at the Bad Boy Records studio in New York City. Other boys were there to audition as well, Busby alleged. All of them were trying to land a record deal. All of them were minors. This individual was sexually abused and allegedly by Sean Combs and several other people at the studio, and promised to both his parents and to him of getting himself a record deal. It says that on Tuesday, Busby said his law firm, along with the AVA Law Group, were retained by at least 120 individuals to file civil claims against Combs. 25 of the alleged victims are minors. Fucking monster. And it says that he plans to file the lawsuits in the various states in the next 30 days. It says that the alleged victims, Busby said, were evenly divided between males and females. He said that more than 55% of the alleged victims filed reports to either the authorities or the hospitals. The alleged victims claimed that they were abused at Diddy's parties, including ones that celebrated album releases and New Year's Eve parties, as well as all-white parties. And you know, it's funny that every time I hear all-white parties, it says that in the parties they show a lot of pictures of showing Puff Daddy and these other dudes, and it also shows Leonardo DiCaprio. And you know, it's there's been stories going around that Leonardo DiCaprio, because of him being associated with Puff Daddy, he just left the country. He's nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. And I was like, oh shit. So apparently Leo must know some fucking dark secrets that he saw at Diddy's parties. So he probably just packed his shit and went and left the country. And you know, like, a lot of people right now are like quietly separating from, like, distancing themselves from Puff Daddy. Another one is, what's his name? I think it's Ashton Kutcher, I believe. Because there's a lot of pictures showing of him and Puff Daddy being all, like, they were you can tell that they were very close friends once upon a time. But because of what happened, they all just, like, shied away from that guy. And because of the backlash of all the shit that's been going on with, not just with Ashton Kutcher, but also with his wife Mila Kunis, because they were associated with that guy, there's been articles and stories going around that because of what's going on in Hollywood, because they were associated with Puff Daddy, they are deciding to sell everything and move to Europe. I mean, I don't know. I'm indifferent towards Ashton Kutcher. And Mila Kunis, I don't know what to say about her, but if they want to leave just to get away from all this heat, I think it's just heat that they're going through right now. Maybe they just want to do what's best for themselves and for their kids, you know? They want to get away from this stuff. Like I said, I don't condone what they're like. If that dude, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say I don't condone. I don't know what's up with Ashton and Puff Daddy and Mila. If they want to leave, so be it, you know? And, you know, once these right-wing nuts got a whiff of them leaving, they say, oh, they're all just making up these fucking weird-ass conspiracy theories and such. And because of what happened with Puff Daddy right now, even Bow Wow, Little Bow Wow, whatever his name is, said that every award show that there was, they all went to fucking Puff Daddy's parties. And now because of what happened to him, he's in jail now and said there's nothing we can do. There's nothing to do afterwards, you know. He's just fucking kissing his ass. Bow Wow, I mean, is kissing the ass of Puff Daddy. But there has been another stories of certain celebrities walking out on Puff Daddy's parties, and one of them, it doesn't surprise me because you can tell this dude is very faithful to his wife. It says here that an A-list actor apparently wasn't a fan of Sean Puff Daddy Combs' alleged infamous parties. That would be Denzel Washington. It says that a source told the magazine in the early 2000s, the Oscar winner and his wife, Paulette, were guests at one of the disgraced rapper's all-night gatherings. It's unclear in which city the party questioned, as bashes were held at Diddy's mansions in the Hamptons, Los Angeles, and Miami Beach. It says that the insider says that things went south the later it got, and the Washingtons want no part of it. And you know what? More power to them. It says that near dawn, after the Equalizer star has seen something, he allegedly confronted Diddy, yelling, "You don't respect anyone." Then Washington, who often talks about his strong sense of faith, and his wife stormed out. Good for them, Good for them. I actually respect him because of that. It says that the 69-year-old Hollywood legend isn't seeing any pictures that have emerged from Combs' many shindigs, which often descended to freak-offs, a.k.a. self-styled bacchanals arranged for the host's pleasure. The 54-year-old singer was arrested last month. They're just saying the same shit over and over, sex trafficking and all that. And it says that the unsealed indictment, the Bad Boy Records founder is accused of forcing women to participate in the so-called FO's employees would allegedly arrange his access to sex workers, often across state lines, and provide drugs to keep them, quote, obedient and compliant, unquote. What can I say about this fucking scumbag? All the stuff that I've been reading about this guy, I've never seen a guy who has been so obsessed with, like, he is a sexual predator. And another story that's been going around is that he forcibly made a guy give this guy he made a dude give him oral sex at a Macy's store in New York City. And Macy's, I guess the dude reported the incident to Macy's, and Macy's did not do anything. They just kept their mouth shut. And because of what happened right now, after all this shit that went down with Puff Daddy, now Macy's is on the fucking. They're just being exposed right now, saying that they're just fucking covering up the dirty deeds of Puff Daddy. Everything that I've been seeing about this guy, it all started with that video that was 2016, how this dude was at a hotel and he was just beating the living shit out of his girlfriend at a hotel. And I guess when she walked out, this dude went after her, beat the living shit out of her, and just grabbed her by the hair and just dragged her back to the room. That was in 2016, mind you. And because of that just exposed all of the shit that went down with Puff Daddy and his entourage. And because of that incident, that basically opened up Pandora's box. Because once that shit happens, it all just snowballs. It's funny how a lot of people who did a lot of bad shit, a lot of shady things back then, they thought, they ain't gonna find out. We got away with it. Mind you, the internet doesn't forget. And that, a lot of people who did a lot of fucking bad things, they're it's like they say, everyone pays a piper in this life. And I'll give you an example of another who is quote unquote a predator. Malik Yoba. He actually did an interview on The Root, and the dude was just like, pressuring him, asking what happened with these allegations of, says he was doing an interview of, he said that he was attracted to trans women, which is, hey, that's his thing, I'm not going to judge. But it was later found out that he was going after a minor in I think it was 1994, I believe. You can look up the interview that Malik Yoba did with The Root, and he was just talking all this nonsense and jargon. And he was just avoiding the subject of what was going on about that, how this dude solicited sex from that sex worker, that's trans woman. And They just found out because of what happened back then. Look what happened. Because of the internet, like my girl says, the internet doesn't forget. They just opened up Pandora's box and it just exposed what type of a human being Puff Daddy is. He is a fucking sexual predator and a monster. And he pled not guilty. He was denied bail. And there's like a lot of stories going around that the jail cell where he's at right now, they just made it do this whole luxurious thing. This is what money does. If you have all this money in the world, then, hey, you can do whatever the fuck you want. It's just, that to me, that's not right. Money talks. So that about wraps up for this week's podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say thank you all, and for the upcoming week for my podcast, I want to talk about something that really hits. That's something that's very near and dear in my heart. I want to talk about. I did an interview months ago with my friend Gilbert. We were talking about video games, and right now there's a video going around. It happened yesterday. That right now Donald Trump wants to ban violent video games. He actually did a speech. I'm gonna post it next week, and I am very much against that. Why is it with these people, they want to blame video games, but they don't want to blame assault rifles, like these high caliber assault rifles, but they want to blame video games? That's just fucking stupid, And that's something that's and I don't think if he would try to do that, that would fucking get dashed down. Unless he has all these fucking yes men surrounded to say, oh, yes, Mr. Trump. We're going to do it, Mr. Trump. Yes, Mr. Trump. Fucking all surrounded by yes men. Because this dude, if this dude gets elected, he's going to surround himself by yes men. He's going to do whatever the fuck he wants. He's going to use the presidency as a toy. As his own plaything, And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with a lot of things, especially with Project 25 that he wants to do. He wants to revoke a lot of things, but one of them is it also mentions that he wants to ban porn. But the main thing to me is that he wants to ban video games. He actually did a little bit of a speech, which I will post it up next week. He can go to hell for all I care. So enough of that. So I'm going to say it for next week. I just want to say thank you all for listening to my podcast. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And believe me, people, I try my best. Believe me. To the people who listen to me from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for everything. And I'll see you all next week. Have a good night. Bye-bye.